I'm not too sure what to entitle this video. I was thinking about the Canadian dollar collapse or something in that terms there. Let's take a look at the Canadian dollar against a lot of other different currencies, starting off with the US fiat currency and every other following currency, FIAT, as well. When I was talking about this before, I even want to go monthly chart for such analysis. I talk a lot about how this coincides with the silver market for the most part. This thing bottomed at around 2000, then rallied pretty high to the 2007 top when the general area silver topped in 2008, and then the big crash, just like silver. Silver rallied to April 2011. This rallied to April 2011. And then this low matched the silver low. So it pretty much had a identical moving type of chart, at least the harmony move. And then this level of resistance in here, it band one, flattened out, established resistance, and was unable to break it. And the big chance was January of 2018, but it didn't do so at the start of the year. And oftentimes, this was a good setup, and now the 18 average of lows showing weakness. And it's just breaking down. So is it just because the US dollar is so strong and so you can insert word of choice? Well, let's take a look against the other ones. But before we do, let's just again take a look at the daily chart, because this was of note that I wanted to talk about, and that is this obvious support line. It was trading in this obvious range, and it's broken it to the downside. There could be more legs lower. However, it does mean that the price of things like Bitcoin and all the other things priced in US dollars, well, it's higher in Canadian dollars, and that to me is a good thing. The euro is the next crossing, and well, it's breaking down amongst it on its weekly term time frame. It had this rally, but is it one of those lower high give back failed breakouts? Because we're resisting this area that it was supporting in 2014, 2016. Overall, a little choppy back and forth, really, as these things are supposed to be. As really, again, well, this is just a matter of dividing what the Canadian dollar is quote unquote worth against the euro. But again, weakness being shown in here. Is the Canadian dollar trash? Question mark. There's another possible headline for the video. Moving on against the pound on the monthly chart. Decent rally, but is it going to fail because I don't like how this resistance in here to the lower high. I know if this 18 average falls, we're going back to the 0.48 level, I would only think. And on the daily chart, okay, we're at a key support, but if it breaks it, and oftentimes the more times you test it, well, the more likely it is you take it out. Well, we could see more weakness. And against the Japanese yen, well, it's a free fall on this one. The Swiss franc, well, it keeps going lower as well. Against the Chinese yuan, it was worth about 8-to-1 ratio, now down to 5 over the last decade. And since its decline, it's been going sideways for a bit, but it had a chance to get above this previous resistance. Fast move to the 18, and maybe it might support it. Of course, on the daily chart, like the US one, break of this level of support. I know it's not a straight line, but this resistance in here, break of this support. Yeah, it's already a minimum leg lower, but the Canadian dollar seems so trashy to me. Within the rupee, what a good rally we had this summer, and give it all back. Failed move, fast move, because here we go, get above the 18, not find support at the low, not find much support if any here, and it's making a leg lower. And on its weekly chart, we had this rally, maybe it's supposed to break above it, and it's supposed to stay here. It didn't do. It did for a while, and then resist the 18 lows and breaking support. Man, it tells to me that this is the failed breakout on the 18. What do we know about failed move, fast moves? Well, you break above this resistance like it did. You come back to this congestion area fast. Man, this thing seems to be going down here. This is, man, it's the Canadian dollar. It's got different colors on it, and they got colors on their dollars. Like green is 20, purple is 10, red is 50, brown is 100. They used to have pink 1000s. They call it monopoly money, but does anyone ever say monopoly money is fiat? Monopoly money is fiat. I just said monopoly money is fiat because I asked the question if anyone does, and I said it, so the answer is yes. I did. Next is the Swedish krona. Well, I mean, my buy low, sell high strategy, this is pretty good outside of the tiny volatility, but if you play with margin areas, I don't do that game. Next up, the Polish zloty, or I don't even know how this is pronounced. Maybe it's a zloty, or I don't know. But it's falling and breaking down. Canadian dollar is so trashy. And apparently there's an offshore Chinese yuan. I don't know what it is, but it's better than the Canadian dollar, at least as of right now. And, well, I mean, it's been getting its butt kicked since I got the data here. And what I see again, that you have this low, you correct, and I mean, it's probably just going to leave it and go lower. Against the Vietnamese dong, they actually have something called a dong. Well, it's also getting its butt kicked as well. And as well as against the dinar of Serbian. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. But it's going down. It broke that support. Crossing against the Thai baht, or baht, over the last month, or year rather. Down and down and down and down, making lower highs, leaving the 18 average band, and the daily time frame just getting its ass kicked to oblivion, it seems. It is what it is. Singapore, this thing is just hanging on to this one thread, or par value. And as we can see, just like on the US, you break this level of support, it's just going to go lower. Did I already talk about this one? I might have. Only a couple left to go. The Australian dollar, well, wow. It's got a strong daily term setup. And, I mean, the Canadian dollar has been trash against a lot of these. I don't know what color your money is in Australia, but maybe it might be a little too colorful. Next is the Turkish lira, and leaving the 18 average. I mean, it's just going to head back to, well, it's been up a while. In fact, in 2016, this was 2, and now it's up to 5. And, well, Canadian currency over the last 2-3 years has done worse against most other ones. I mean, this is probably just hyperinflation that they're going with, and I mean, every fiat currency has to go through it at some point. It's sort of like pregnancy. You got to go through the labor at some point. You can wait and delay it, and it's just something that has to happen. I'm just guessing that to be the case because, wow, I mean, but lately, though, the Turkish lira hasn't been as trashy as the Canadian dollar, but man, this was pretty bad. Pretty bad. And the Malaysian ringgit, well, it's choppy as anything. Good for the buy low, sell high strategy, but again, poor volatility. And finally, the Colombian peso. Well, there's another bullish setup here, long-term, monthly term. I find it an interesting chart because you got this resistance and this level of support after this move turned into this move. Lately, it's had a couple of periods just hanging in there above this level. And on the daily chart, it's not doing what it is against other ones. So the peso's even doing worse against the other ones. And when we look at different currencies, like in ones that aren't doing so well, Down in South America, Venezuela is obviously been one of the worst ones over the last decade or change. It's the situation of it's a matter of time before fiat currencies have some very violent days of basically losing its value. It's been grinding its way, losing its value via that of every day and every month and every year inflation. And that's bad enough as it is. And that's why when I talk about if I have a choice to put any one item in a safe and I must lock it up for 5 years, 10 years, or some decent but long enough period of time for one's individual life, for long term investing, of course, what would it be? I could put stocks in there of any, I could put a stock of any company. I could put in gold, I can put in silver, I can put in any fiat currencies, I can put in any cryptocurrencies. And the obvious choice would be silver. So I guess I'll show one final chart against the Canadian dollar. And we're seeing silver looking pretty good, but again, that's a result of how poor the Canadian dollar is, for why it's a little bit higher against that of against the U.S. dollar. And within this, if the Canadian dollar goes down, then there might just be one final buying opportunity available if this Canadian dollar chart, as I was talking about on the front, against US dollar, follows silver so major, it continues to do such, then if this thing has a move down to here, then maybe we see, as the Canadian dollar charts I've shown you have some further capitulation for a decent leg lower. And if that's the case, then that would create an interesting buying opportunity for definitely other people, but definitely myself. Thank you for tuning in, and have yourself a great holiday. Bye-bye.